one of the biggest questions for Oregon going against BYU this week at Autzen Stadium, which Bo Nix will Oregon get against the Cougars? I think a lot of people, after seeing his Oregon debut against Georgia, particularly those in SEC country, were not super surprised. Bo Nix had struggled against Georgia in the 3 previous matchups, and that was again the case, throwing 2 interceptions against Georgia. And, I'm not sure that those were, game breakers because the offense was just struggling overall. But when you're going up against a team that's that good, your margin for error is so small. And Oregon was able to move the ball relatively well, kind of here and there throughout the game, but they weren't able to finish drives. Dan Lanning talked about how that was a big issue. So you have that version of Bo Nix throwing 2 picks in the first game. Then he, comes against Eastern Washington and has a really, really good game, has as many incompletions as he does touchdowns, throws for 5 touchdowns, the first duck to do that since Justin Herbert, 277 yards, and he didn't even play the whole game. Looked a little bit much more composed and, comfortable. But we'll see if the BYU defense lets him get settled in. What do you think about this topic? I feel like it's going to go a long way in determining where this game ultimately shakes out.
It's going to, absolutely. I think when you look at both the Eastern Washington game and the Georgia game, Bo Nix and the Oregon offense, they did move the ball around decently well. But yeah, those interceptions were drive killers, and I do ultimately think that those were game killers because Oregon had a chance on that first drive. Like they're going down the field, they're marching well, and they're getting real close to the red zone. Bo Nix throws an interception. A little later, you're driving well, moving the ball. Bo Nix throws an interception. Defenses, especially good defenses, and I think BYU, you can say they have a good defense because you take down another highly ranked team in Baylor. So I think if you're playing against a really good team, you can't afford to have those interceptions. And I think it's gonna come down to, can Oregon, as Dan Lanning says, do simple better? That was something that I remember him saying at the presser after the Eastern Washington game is we did simple better against Eastern Washington. So really getting back to those fundamentals is like the fundamentals. They're not the most exciting thing, as we all know, but they're the thing that can end up saving your skin in a football game later down the line. So I think it just depends on how Bo Nix comes out of the gate. Can he do the simple things well, get the ball moving, build that momentum for Oregon to build on, and then get into the end zone. But I do think, if he starts going out there being kind of reckless and throwing like an interception or 2, number 1, that's not going to do very much good for your confidence. Number 2, Oregon's going to probably lose the game if that happens. And number 3, you're going to have all of Autzen Stadium calling for Ty Thompson to come into the game.
Yeah, and I mean, we did get to see Ty Thompson last week, and we talked in our post-game show earlier this week, or our final thoughts rather. Man, Autzen was just roaring when Ty Thompson came into that game, which was pretty cool to see. I mean, especially because the game was out of hand, and that made sense. It was the smart move by the staff.
I was really surprised it got that loud, though.
Yeah, no,
we were both there. We heard how loud it got. I remember I was like, "Whoa, I was not expecting that."
Yeah, man. I mean, when you have a quarterback that before Dante Moore committed, he was the highest rated quarterback commit in program history. Excuse me, got to catch myself for a program podcast. People want to see him play, and Oregon played in so many close games last year, and then when they were getting blown out, the previous staff wouldn't put him in. So I think a lot of people want to draw a lot of storylines from that. But to get back to Bo, I think that you just don't put it in the situation where you need to have Bo win the game for you. I'm not saying he's not capable of that. We know how much playmaking ability he has, but I think from an Oregon perspective, I think you'd rather, get the ball moving on the ground. That's why I said earlier in the show that was such a key for them. If they can get that run game going, it'll really open up, I think, some different elements in the passing game. Keep getting that chemistry with Troy Franklin and Dante Thornton. Get Chase Cota involved. You got some huge tight ends that are going to be a threat for you, I think, in this game. So I think it's, a combination, Mark. Do the simple things better. but also take some downfield shots, but make them like calculated risks, or, put it in a spot where only your guy can get it. Don't be setting yourself up for failure if you're having some ugly throws out there. As my dad would say, some wobblers. When we played catch when I was growing up, it was definitely some wobblers for my dad. So you want to have that ball coming out crisp, and make some good reads. Don't stare down your primary read too much. I think that's one thing, a big criticism that people have had of Bo Nix so far this season. So do the simple better. Take what the defense gives you, and just put together some drives and finish some drives. And if that defense can get some takeaways, you got to put it on yourself as a quarterback, as an offense. Hey, they got a takeaway for us. Now it's on us to finish it and put some points up on the board on the other end of the field.
Absolutely, yeah. Like Bo Nix, we've seen him be able to make those big plays. We've seen him be able to lead a big drive down the field. I mean, heck, Oregon fans saw him do that against Oregon in his first start. Oregon had that lead, and then Auburn was able to drive down the field and basically win that game. Yeah, pretty much at the last minute. I remember watching that game. That hurt, definitely. But yeah, Bo has to step up as the QB. I think he knows that. He knows what the expectation is, and I think he also knows the talk that's been happening about him and Ty Thompson. I think this is honestly a game where he can really silence the critics and say it's like, hey, I had a rough start game one. I could have, you could say that I maybe stat pad a little in the game two. This is the game where Bo Nix really steps up, I think.
Yeah, and in that rough debut, it was against probably a top 3, top 4 defense in the country. So it's like you can't knock a guy too much for that. But to go to your point, I think this is a game where he can, show why this Oregon staff wanted him. Flash some of that playmaking ability, show that he has been a 3-year starter in the SEC, and that he should be prepared for, big matchups like this. So I think that this is definitely a prove-it game for Bo Nix, and one that he can use to kind of propel himself, in the right direction and get some good positive momentum and confidence heading into that Wazoo matchup to open Pac-12 play.